Thank you, Nicole.
No problem.
Okay, this is a Personnel Commission meeting. It's our regular meeting. It's Tuesday, September 29th, and we are now in regular session. And is authorized by the governor's emergency executive order, which was issued on March 12th. The Ukiah Unified School District Personnel Commission will conduct its meetings via video until further notice. This meeting will be streamed via the UUSD's live YouTube channel. Members of the public who wish to address the commission during the meeting are asked to please use the public comment form prior to the start of the meeting, and the form can be accessed on the Personnel Commission website at https. Well, anyway, it's the website on UUSD. But it's under the department's Personnel Commission and selection meeting agendas. So now we're going to go into roll call. Do you want to do that, Marty?
Absolutely. Roll call personnel commissioners. Kathy James, Chair.
Here.
Susan Scher.
Here.
And Martha Giacomini.
Here.
Okay, we also have present Nicole Gensler from our HR department and Human Resources, and Lisa Rantola, the president of CSEA and tech extraordinaire. Okay, Lisa, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And I think our wonderful tech person can put a flag up for us. There we go. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay, go ahead. All right,
Hello?
go.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and
and
to the republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty and justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Thank you, Lisa.
Welcome.
Okay. All right, let's get repositioned here. Now that I spilled my drink all over my sofa and okay. I need commissioners an approval of today's agenda. I'll need a motion and a second.
I'd like to make a motion to approve today's agenda.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve today's agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving right along on the agenda, number 5 is called organization updates. And this is a 3 to 5 minute per person portion. This is an opportunity for the PC commission, the district administration, or CSEA reps to make a brief announcement report on his or her own activities or ask questions. So I don't know, Lisa, if you'd like to come in on this.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
The biggest thing I have to report is we held our regular chapter meeting, and the unit nominated and voted Martha as our
Yay.
vote for commissioner, and she was
Woohoo.
gracious enough to accept and would like to stay on, and we're happy about that. That was unanimous. Other things that are happening, not a lot. We're doing phone, it's political voting season, so we're doing phone banking and trying to get the word out for Proposition 15 and money for schools. And other than that, it's COVID season and seems to be never ending. So, I think that I can say that Ukiah Unified is doing amazing. We set up a tech hotline, which I man the post. And so it's been getting busier and busier as the days go on, which is good. I love to help people. So we have a live Google Meet from 8 to noon, and from 8 to 3 p.m. we have a live UUSD phone hotline. So they can call and I answer, and I have not solved any problems yet, knock on wood.
Yay.
So it's been really good. And a lot of the parents are very gracious, and, they were very grateful that I answered the phone, and I make sure I follow through with them, because everybody needs to feel supported and not drop the ball on things. And I think that's really important. And if that's one little thing we can do from, that I can do to help support the teachers and the students and the parents and lessen some of that anxiety, it's been going well. So I'm really grateful that I'm a part of that. So other than that, CSEA related wise, we are just chugging along. We're going. Nothing really major to report, except everybody knows about the new fires. And so we made an extra donation to the relief fund from our chapter to assist members that may have lost their home or have been displaced, or so we're trying to do the best we can, but we're moving along. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Lisa?
Not necessarily for Lisa. This could be possibly for Nicole or Lisa. And I don't know where else to ask this. So if you think it's too off topic, let me know. But I've been trying to get information about the two candidates running for the school board, and I can't get any information. There's nothing on the sample ballot. I've talked to people who are in the know, and they know nothing about these candidates. So is there any place either of you could refer, or any of you could refer me to get some bios or position statements?
I can say that came up at our meeting. I'm supposed to be sending out, giving each the opportunity to come to our meeting and ask them the same group of questions. So the incumbent that filled the vacancy, Jose, he does not have anything in the bio, but I know on my sample ballot, Susan did have a blurb in hers, and I did read that. I don't know if maybe
I didn't see that. Oh,
Susan's is there, but Jose's is not. And I know Susan, she used to work for us, and I don't know a lot about Jose, but this is my personal opinion. I really feel like,
you know what? I don't think I'm not asking for an
Yeah.
endorsement, and this wouldn't be the place. I
Right.
just wanted to know very neutrally where I can find out about these folks.
I don't know about any other place to find a bio on either one, except for I know Susan did have a blurb on my sample
Okay,
ballot.
I must have
but
missed
Jose
it.
did
I'll
not.
look again.
And Lisa, if you guys are able to meet with both candidates and ask them questions, is that something that is just your CSEA leadership, or is that like a forum that you set up for the public?
So how that works is they both have to be asked the same questions. They both are invited to the chapter meeting, but not simultaneously. So we would ask the group of questions to the first candidate, and then they would be dismissed from the meeting. And then we would ask the same group of questions to the second candidate, and then they would be dismissed. And then we would have a group discussion about, how they answered the questions and if they wanted to throw their support behind anybody.
And
So that's
Lisa,
how that works.
is that open to the public or only CSEA members?
Yeah, CSEA members only.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess the answer is I can't really get any neutral information about Jose.
Not that I know of. I'm not aware.
Statement in, that's unfortunate, but I don't know where else to go because, all right, thank you, Lisa. That's helpful.
Lisa, I have a question. Could you just briefly tell us about the proposition that you're making phone calls on?
Oh, let me see if I can rack my brain. So
Okay,
the
if it's
I kind of know, but I don't want to give misinformation. So the proposition is to tax the top, anybody making over $400,000 annually would be taxed at a higher percentage. They would be taxed at a rate where that tax only would come to schools, to support schools. And that's not just K-12, that's all schools in the state of California. So it wouldn't affect, you know, the middle class, but it would affect people that were making over $400,000. And it's really the initiative. We're just trying to ensure that money is coming back and staying in the schools. But it's only those people making over $400,000 a year.
So that's Prop 15, it looks like.
Right, that's correct. Prop 15.
Okay.
Okay, and is there any other ones?
No, the only one we're doing phone banking on is that one. That one actually CSEA is got it legislation. They helped legislate that and put it on there. So that's the main one that we're calling our
Okay.
members and CSEA members in regards to trying to continue to get funding for schools.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. And I,
And Lisa, I just grabbed my sample ballot. I
Sure.
do see Susan Asbury's statement. I missed that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
That's okay. No, it's okay. I just didn't have my leaflet that I was using that had this, you know, that was just off the top of my head.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Leah and CSEA for the opportunity to present on this topic.
Okay, Martha,
Yes.
something's happened to your sound.
Really?
That's,
Yeah,
that sound means a really poor Wi-Fi connection. And sometimes people, if they turn off their video, can have a better audio.
Okay, no idea.
turn off that video and let's see if we hear you better.
Okay.
Okay, now talk.
Can you hear me clearly?
I think so. Keep talking.
Okay. All I was saying was I wanted to thank Lisa CCA for giving the opportunity to be part of the board again.
Martha, we got the gist of it, but it was still hard to hear you.
Okay, that's all. I'll have my dog in here if she called me in. Okay.
Okay. Lisa, did you catch that?
Yes, she was thanking us, and that was very sweet.
Yeah.
You're welcome. We're grateful to have you. Thank you for your service.
Okay. Okay, Martha, are you in the room?
I'm gonna leave just for a minute, Kathy. I'll
Oh.
be right back.
Oh, you sound really good wherever you are.
I'm far away from.
Oh, you
God.
sound perfect. Okay.
Okay, I'll stand up then.
I
Okay.
think that's probably a Wi-Fi connection. Your physical location probably has nothing to do with it, Martha. It's just your Wi-Fi needed
Okay.
to kind of get caught up. You're probably fine sitting down if you want.
Hotspots, where are they?
Oh, there you
Okay,
go. Great. Okay, I'm going to
Okay.
move on to community input, which is number 6 on our agenda. And this is where members of the audience are welcome to address the Personnel Commission, as long as it's nothing that, oh my God, regarding items not listed on the agenda. Do we have any of those requests?
We did not receive any community comment requests.
Okay. All right, then we'll keep moving on. The consent agenda, commissioners, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda of today's meeting.
I move to approve today's consent agenda.
Okay, and I need a
I
second.
that. I second that.
So I have a motion and a second to approve today's consent agenda. All in favor, signify
Aye.
by saying aye.
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 Okay. Motion passes. Next in our reports, we have our Assistant Superintendent, Nicole Ginsler from Human Resources. Nicole?
It's good to see you all. And can I just commend you on how much more smoothly this meeting has started than the last one. My recollection is last month, the technical issues were difficult and we're mostly overcoming them, which is very much how school has been this year, where it's like a rocky start and then the technical issues you kind of figure out they're always there, but you start to learn how to deal with them. So congratulations on getting some stuff kind of smoothed out in the PC meetings. So I wanted to report, of course, we're still in distance learning. That's where we are right now. We don't have a timeline of getting out of it. It really is going to be, we're going to follow the cues based on public health and based on our numbers. There's some guidance from the state on different tiers that we're working to use those guidelines to set some benchmarks for where we are in our instruction and how we offer that instruction. One thing that the high school did last year or during the summer, that was really very helpful in some of the distance learning is they moved to a block schedule. So each student only has 4 classes each semester. So that's helping a lot with some of the work our students are doing. Our middle school students still have a lot of classes. So the middle school students are still on screen quite a lot. Our elementary school students are, they're able to get on for synchronous instruction and then spend some time offline doing stuff without having to be engaged with a screen all day. One thing that we're doing is we're having all of our administrators do check-ins. All of our certificated administrators are doing check-ins in classrooms, and all managers, classified and certificated, are doing phone check-ins with families just to check in and see how distance learning is going. And so I wanted to let you know that as of Friday, we reported this out to our staff that over 450 classrooms had been visited by administrators, and those are virtual classrooms, of course. And we had contacted over 470 families with check-ins. So that's the goal that we have had set is that we do 5 phone calls a week, each administrator, and that the certificated administrators visit 2 classrooms a week. Many have gotten to more than 2 classrooms, obviously, with those numbers. And our site administrators are, of course, visiting a lot more classes than our district administrators are. So that's really helping to keep in touch with what's going on. We also have an equity committee that is starting up. I don't know when the first meeting is, but I just wanted to share that out. That was part of the work of the strategic plan, is having an equity committee and really looking at questions of equity within the district, particularly looking at equity with student issues, the employee issues in as much as they impact student issues, which of course we know that all employee issues impact student issues when you work in a school site. We've had some school sites have gotten money, funds to mitigate learning loss, and so that's those. The funds are being used for a wide range of things. We've hired an additional family community liaison that's going to be help with COVID-related things. We have needs for technology. Obviously, the school sites are ordering various things. Some of it may be furniture, finding that people that are not furniture for people who are working at home, but for on-site work stations, people that normally would be out and about with students are now having to have a fixed workstation. So in some cases, in many cases, it's technology. In some cases, we're ordering furniture. We're looking at, we've got some orders for things to put on your screen or glasses to wear, so that if you're developing a sensitivity to the screen from having looked at it all day long, that can help with your how your eyes feel at the end of the day. So there's a lot going on with distance learning. Of course, I think that at this point we're really trying to just focus on the quality of what we're offering right now, and always trying to think about, so what's going to come next. But we really need to focus on what we're doing right now as well. And so that's really, we're trying to make sure that we're refining and improving the distance learning that we're offering right now. And then I also wanted to share out two other things. One is that October 11th through the 17th is week School Administrator Appreciation Week. So I wanted to share that out. That's, as you know, the state of California has different weeks that they recognize different employee groups. So that's the administrator one is coming up. And then I wasn't sure if we had shared with you, but one of the challenges when you go remote, especially when you work with so many people that went into a job where they expected to have lots and lots of person-to-person interactions, there's a significant impact on employees when they go from all these interactions that drew them to the job. And
Sure.
now they're in a position where they can't have those interactions except for virtually for the most part. It's very difficult. It's also very difficult to maintain connectiveness. You can't run into somebody in the lunchroom. You can't do a Friday potluck. Those are things that really help people stay connected. So there's a lot of challenges that districts are having to face, and not just districts, all kinds of employee groups. In keeping employees feeling satisfied and proud of the work that they're doing, it's very hard because our teachers are normally very self-critical. And so they go into a lesson and they come out of it knowing all the things that went wrong. And now they're having to teach in using technology that they're growing used to, but it's not what they've been using for years and years. So it's, as you know, we know that there are lots of challenges. So we're really trying to keep in mind the impact that this has on our staff, that they're not just teaching machines, they're not just paraprofessional machines, they're people, and that this has an impact on them as well. So we're trying to get employee wellness activities to them. Kim Larkin, our employee benefits and risk manager, has set up, I think for tomorrow night, hopefully you received something about, I think it's about staying positive, or leading a positive, having a positive outlook or something like that. So we have that as an employee wellness activity coming up, and then another one in a few weeks. I think it's on dealing with stress during COVID. I can't remember the topic exactly. So the other thing is that in the very first week that we went into remote learning, we decided to start a weekly update that we would send to all of our staff. In general, Deb sends out regular communication, not weekly, but regular communications from the superintendent. But this is different. This is every week we're sending something where normally Deb, occasionally I will write just like a little article. And then we highlight positive things that we've seen in the district. We put links to videos, and then we put important information for employees regarding like employee attendance, flu shots and things like that, because one, we wanted to highlight some of the positive things going on in our district and kind of showcase these things. But the other thing is now that everything's virtual, we're just sending email after email after email to employees to keep them informed on all these things. Truth be known, we kind of do that anyway. Even before COVID, we sent a lot of emails to our staff. And so this is kind of intended to be a bit of a clearinghouse for those things. Rather than send all these emails, if they can wait a few days, we put this information all in one newsletter that they can refer to. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we're doing that, because I was watching on the news during the weekend a little piece on the number of employees. It was some sort of survey nationwide, and it was like, I think 60 or 70% of employees across the nation had said that they had not received any expression of gratitude for the work that they'd been doing remotely, and the challenge that has in maintaining your spirits and your positive attitude about your work. When I saw that piece, I was very proud of the work that we have done in Ukiah Unified, because I think that Deb by nature is a very positive person and leads with a high level of positivity. But and that certainly spreads out. But I think things like the weekly update, lots and lots of posts that we do on Facebook, really trying to highlight the good work that our employees are doing. So I have to say that collectively, certainly, all of our staff has been thanked for the multiple times for the work that they're doing. But there's also been several individual expressions of gratitude. So I was really proud of the work that we're doing when I saw that. It was, for me personally, it was very timely because it feels for many of us that no matter how hard we work, that we're not doing a good enough job, because it's just so hard to overcome the struggles that we're encountering with continued distance learning. So I saw that and I was just really proud, and I wanted to share that with you guys because I know that you guys being an advocate for our employees, I just want to assure you that we are recognizing that our employees are doing some really outstanding work right now. And that concludes my my report.
Okay, go ahead.
That just is so important because it's connecting people together. And then when you're saying to hear that, to be thankful for what they're doing, I think for the employees, that's such a positive. Just that thank you, that they know that makes a big difference for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, Nicole.
Mhm. Susan, did you have something?
Oh, well, I just wanted you to know I've learned this is Zoom language for yay.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand wanting
But
to
actually,
talk.
I did have a quick question. I mean, I've done now probably about 200 Zoom meetings, so I've kind of learned the sign language. So Nicole, I assume you're talking about classified employees as well as teachers.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah, it's an email, or it's a weekly update that gets sent out to all employees every week. So yeah, it goes to everyone, and the work that we highlight is classified and certificated and management.
Great.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, I was wondering, Nicole, Kim, by the way, Kim is an awesome employee.
Yes.
The program that she's putting on, is it on you guys' website, or how do we access it?
We can send you a link. It went out to all employees. I'm not sure if it went. I'm not sure if it went out to all people receiving our benefits, because it's open to all of our employees and everyone in their household. And I think if you are receiving the district's medical insurance, I think that it's open to you as well. So
Okay.
I can find it and have her forward it or forward it to you.
Okay, great. Is anybody else like to have it forwarded other than me?
Yes, please.
Oh, sure. If you're,
Yes.
yeah, send
Yes.
it to all of us. That
I
would be
will
great.
forward you the weekly update because it was a link in the weekly update. That way you can see an
Oh.
example of the
Yeah,
That'd be
The
wonderful.
weekly
That'd be great.
update is not a public document. So that is to say, it's not something that we send out to parents, it's to employees, but you as representatives are also in that kind of employee group. And I know that I'm talking about this in a public forum, but it's because I would hate for anyone to think that this is something that we're going to start sending out to all of our families. It's not. It's very much intended to keep our employees informed. But I think as kind of people who are custodians of things related to employees, it'd be a good thing for you guys to see. So I'll send it to you.
okay, super. Okay, anything else with Nicole? Okay, we'll move on to Marty and her report, please.
So I'm going to kind of continue along Nicole's lines. I kind of had a reverse order, but this works out well. We sent out an email to classified staff, just doing a quick check-in because we didn't have the opportunity to do our annual picnic and recognition. And
Right.
with limited, more remote working, we don't get to see our employees as much as we did in years past. So we sent out an email to all classified staff, just kind of saying, hi, how are you doing? And it was kind of interesting, out of 400 and some odd classified employees, we really got, almost half responding saying, oh, I'm doing well. A few were, why are you asking? And a little anxious. But anyway, so it was kind of fun to recognize that and say, oh, I should have done a better job of explaining why I'm asking. But I also had the opportunity to send out additional information about our employee assistance program, which is a marvelous program for our employees. It's a resource that if they're having any kind of obstacles, complications, whatever situation is coming up in their life. It's available 24/7. It's completely confidential, and our employees can access an abundance of resources. So it's great to know that that's out there, and not a lot of employees knew that that was available. So I was happy to be able to share that with them. And the weekly update that Nicole referenced also gives employees information about, flu immunizations and different things. So it's a great communication tool, and I'm very grateful that we have that out there. I'm grateful to receive it as an employee, but also to help contribute to that. As I stated, we're working remotely. We've been working remotely most of the month, especially with the very poor air quality. We're trying to get back a little bit at a time, but just grateful to be able to continue our work even remotely. Lori has been testing paraprofessionals and bilingual staff. Thank you to the technology department. They very graciously allowed us to set up at their facility, which gave us a little more room. And so we've been able to get a few people through. So we're very grateful to the technology department for the use of their facilities. We had 66 positions to fill so far, and we've processed over 120 applicants. So Lori and I both have been scrambling. We've done 30 Zoom interviews with 78 different candidates. So it's been kind of crazy. We're doing a couple a week, but we're just slamming them out. And as you see later in the agenda, our vacancies are filling up very quickly. So we're very happy about that. As a matter of fact, 5 more of those positions have been filled that are at the top of that list. So that's about all I have. Any questions?
Martha,
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Susan?
No, I just want to tell Marty, I appreciated your Farmer's Almanac harvest analogy.
Yeah.
That was very sweet.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but there's like a play button on the picture September. and
Yes.
if you
Oh.
play it,
I
it goes
did.
to YouTube
Oh,
for Earth, Wind, and Fire's
Oh, that's a great
September.
song.
I couldn't resist. It was too much fun.
You're so creative. Okay, we'll move on now to our action items, and 9.1 is to discuss and consider approval of revisions to the PC rules to clarify the impact of a possible conflict with any language in government codes or agreement between the district and the employees, meaning the bargaining unit. So
so this is our second reading.
Yes, this is a second reading.
Well, I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
okay, then do I have a motion and a second?
All right, well, I will move to approve the amendment. Is it an amendment or the revision to the appendix A of the PC rules? Adding this introductory paragraph regarding comparison to state ed code. Or
Okay.
I should say, that was a terrible motion. Can I start over?
Please, go ahead.
I approve the proposed revision to Appendix A of the PC rules with the paragraph that the ed code takes precedence over any PC rules.
Okay, it might be clear if on where it says recommendation, if you use that language.
Oh, the board has the final say.
I don't, that's not what I'm saying, but if we're making to specific parts of it, we're just we're revising the changes that were made in it. So there's more than one change, I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, we don't have the old one in front of us.
Yeah. So
Okay, so just to adopt the recommendations?
yeah.
Right, right.
Okay, sure.
So okay. So
Should I make it again?
Yeah, just use that language.
Okay, so
that-
I move to adopt the proposed, well, it's revisions, not recommendations, right?
Right, revision.
Or to adopt it's very simple. I'm making it much more complicated than it needs to be. So I move to adopt the proposed revisions to the PC rules, changing Appendix A, period.
I second.
Okay, so all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Susan.
Sorry, that was
Okay.
so complicated.
No, I find that if we use that language that's in the recommendation on the
That's much
agenda
easier.
page, it hits right to the point.
Right.
Okay, so moving on to 9.2. This is a discussion and consider approval of possible revision to PC rules 407.2-5 and 407.2-6, which is the rejection of applications.
Right,
And I believe this is a second reading as well.
yes.
Well, wasn't this, Marty, did you bring this back then after talking to council or?
I did. I spoke
Yeah.
to council. Unfortunately, the counselor or the council that initially gave us the recommendation is out on a leave. However, she asked that we refer to the counselor that we used for another situation. And when I proposed all the information, the background information to her, she recommended that we stay exactly with what the first council recommended, only because the language is in ed code. And so to change the language away from what's in ed code, regardless of what we feel our personal beliefs of the meanings are, it just confuses things.
Mhm.
And to be consistent, she recommended keeping it as the recommended revision at the bottom of the page.
Well, that keeps it all together. It's not, separate, and then it makes more sense, I would think.
Well,
Yeah,
you can see there, she says, furthermore, in reviewing the literature surrounding both terms, it appears that they, can be used. Sorry, I have to blow it up a little bit. They're interchangeable.
Right.
However, ed code uses that specific language, and so therefore she was recommending keeping it the way.
I
Mhm.
think I think that's why we talked about that last time, but I think you were double checking
Right.
to make sure that it was consistent with ed code, and you're saying it is.
Yes, the recommended revision is consistent with ed code.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I have a lot of comments about this, and I don't want to be to belabor this, but I have a lot of problems with this. I looked at the ed code section she references, and this is only relevant to credentialing of teachers. So I wonder if it's even comparable, or that I don't know if she didn't mention any other ed code sections, so I assume this is the only one. But I don't know if we're bound by the definition of addiction in a code section that's only relevant to credentialing or renewal of a credential for teachers. There's nothing about classified employees. So that, can I just run through my questions about this, or do you want to take one at a time?
No, I think go ahead and go through
Okay,
your.
so that's sort of a threshold issue. Looking at the current rule and the recommended revision is very different. So the current rule is a history of drug addiction without acceptable evidence of rehabilitation. The new one is evidence of current use of illegal substances. Whoops. Oh, we're still okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Evidence of current use of illegal substances or current addiction to any intoxicant. That expands it a lot. So the first one just talked about drugs. The revision talks about any intoxicant, which clearly would include alcohol. So my problem, and then I really, the phrase current use is really vague, because current use could be somebody who maybe used cocaine once a month on a Friday night and then came to work Monday morning under no influence. That's one issue. And then, then it does include alcohol. I thought maybe a solution would be to use the language, where did I see this? The language that's in the ed code I don't know if any of you have it in front of you, but it does have a phrase at the very bottom, any denial, blah, 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 related to the applicant's fitness to teach or fitness to perform other duties for which that applicant is certified or competence to perform the duties. So with that, I know I'm going through this pretty fast, but so I think the solution would be to add language that just says, if this use of intoxicants or illegal substances negatively impacts or affects job performance, or use the precise language at the end of the ed code. Because that's sort of the catch-all phrase, like, we're not going to fire someone for using illegal substances, but it shall be based on if there are reasons related to the applicant's fitness to teach or to perform other duties. The reason I spent a long time on this, because none of you were involved. This is in ancient times, but I've mentioned this before. We did a hearing for an employee who was fired for smoking a lot of pot. And it was, he had a medical marijuana card, but the other two commissioners were very offended at the amount of his use of marijuana. He was stopped by a police officer because he had these big bags of, what's the name for, like, for seeds and stuff. And well, yeah, there's another word. It's like sticks and seeds and stuff he was going to make a tea out of. But he was a beloved employee and adored by teachers, and he was fired. And I was the dissenting opinion, and we don't have to revisit that, but I just kept emphasizing it didn't affect his job performance. Nobody was alleging that. They just didn't like the fact that he smoked a lot of weed, which I don't think was anybody's business. He had a medical marijuana card. So anyway, I just am really nervous about somebody who might be a great employee who has terrific evaluations, but maybe once in a while uses an illegal drug. Are we going to not hire somebody because of that? I think it's getting into a very slippery slope.
Martha?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm just taking this all in.
I know I'm going fast, and I raised like 5 different issues, but I think, if anyone, I don't know who, maybe if someone can, I can't do a share screen, can I?
If you're made to be one of the co-hosts.
Actually, you should have the ability to share your screen.
Oh, I can. Oh, great. Okay. I could just show you the bottom of the ed code. Oh, shoot. Do I still have it here? Oh, shoot. I took it off my computer. Sorry. Well, I'm wondering, if anybody can really quick just look up, it's pretty easy to find, just look up ed code 44345 and look at the bottom clause. And the gist of it is that any denial of employment shall be based upon reasons related to the applicant's fitness to teach or fitness to perform other duties for which that applicant is certified. So I think if we just add that, I don't have any problem with it, but I am a little concerned that we went from illegal substances to intoxicants, which wasn't in the original code. So we've expanded the definition of bad behavior. I mean, if someone's an alcoholic, maybe they get wasted every weekend or when they come home from work, but they show up. Oh, this is applicants, not employees, but we get word of someone who, has a drinking problem. Are we not going to hire them even though they're great in every other way?
I guess, what does the word evidence mean? It could mean a drug test. It could mean a behavior that's being noticed. It's using the word evidence. So there'd have to be good evidence to this. And to me, that would be the determining factor.
Does evidence go to both clauses, evidence of current or illegal substances or current addiction to any intoxicant? Is that also evidence of?
Yeah, that's the way I read it.
Oh, okay.
So I think, it's not on hearsay. It's evidence. And,
So,
I can go back to a time when a teacher, I mean, we're not talking about teachers, but many, many, many years ago, a certificated person had, I believe, even tried, and was, obviously there was a smell of alcohol and there had been behaviors, and she had her drink at school in one of her bottles, and that's how she operated every day. And
So that clearly is in the category of how it negatively impacted.
that's evidence,
Yes,
though. See,
that's
that's what I'm getting at. And so I think that's the key right there. It's not just poking at somebody. And frankly, somebody who has a marijuana card, anybody can get a marijuana card. They don't need it for medical purposes. And that's always been the case. So they could be somebody who uses a lot of pot all the time, whether they're working or not. And so if there's evidence to that, then I think that's what this is saying.
But this is just applicants, not.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Well, are we going to reject people who are really great applicants because they smoke a lot of pot?
Are we
Well,
going
how
to
would-
put, I have to say, there's also the fact it's not, whether it's marijuana or prescription drugs or alcohol, one of the things that we have with applicants, because they're not yet hired, is we have the ability to be much more selective. Once they're hired, we have to cope with their problems. If they have addiction, they have other problems. And it almost always manifests in work somehow. But the other thing that we have to remember is that addiction is not healthy. It may be understandable. We might be able to explain how it happened due to an injury, and prescription drugs are easy to get it. Like, there are things that are very understandable about it. And once they're our employee, we need to work with them to try to figure out how to navigate through that, to either figure out, do they need to find another position or do they need to find help? But if they're coming to us and we've not yet hired them, one thing we have to remember is that every person we hire, we should be able to put up in front of children and say, I hope you can be like this person someday.
yeah.
And addiction is not healthy. And so if we're putting it forward that we will knowingly hire you despite any addiction, I think that is not really what we want to do for our kids.
No.
Okay, and Nicole, I hear that, and that what you're saying applies to the second clause. I'm still not crazy about the use of the word addiction, but I can get past that. It's really more the first clause, evidence of current use of illegal substance. That's really vague.
It's not to
Could
me,
it used one time, 20 times?
but what is evidence? And so what we
Right.
get is we get people sending Facebook posts or
Oh,
copies of what, or actually that's Facebook posts wouldn't be what we get for applicants. What we get for applicants is a copy of their DOJ report that shows repeated arrests
okay.
related to like DUIs, related to possession of a controlled substance. The evidence of these things that would disqualify them.
So
So that
maybe
would
we should
be-
say evidence of current illegal use, not use of illegal substance.
You know what?
I know
I'm
it's
not
getting
comfortable,
semantic.
if our attorney has indicated that we stay with this language, I'm comfortable with that. Because if we get into trouble, they're the ones who are gonna have to defend it.
Well, I think we have some say. We don't automatically have to rubber stamp attorney's advice. I mean, my advice was often not taken when I was an attorney. I wasn't God. I didn't expect people to take everything.
I hear that, but that's my comfort level. And I, like I indicated before, I work in this field. And I would have to agree with Nicole.
As Nicole pointed out, we're really limited on how much information we actually have on applicants, because we get their application, they have to go through the fingerprint screening process.
Okay.
And when we get that report back from DOJ or the FBI, we review it. If it's going to hinder them performing their duties, then I'm sorry, we can't offer them a position. But if it's something that, it was a past discretion, it was, it has really nothing to do with the job that we're hiring them for, then it really doesn't even come into play. So.
But the thing is here too, is that it says evidence of current use of illegal substances. So if last month you were arrested for being under the influence of cocaine,
That's current.
That's current. It's not saying you were using it illegally, because by the virtue of you using it at all, you were using it illegally.
Mhm.
Then going on to say, or current addiction to any intoxicant. If you are addicted to an intoxicant and we're expected to trust you around children, we can't. It doesn't matter what your job is. And like I said, once we hire them, we have to either go through a dismissal process, which is labor intensive, or we have to help them through recovery. Like, we have to choose a path. All of them are expensive, costly, and time consuming. The process for eliminating who we will consider should not be expensive. It should not be burdensome. It should not be time consuming. And I think if you add something to the effect of, if it is likely to impact your job, according to whom? And I think that kind of opens it up in a way that could
Interpretation.
Yes.
defend.
And that's why the just evidence of it it's pretty solid, I think.
Well, I think the word, again, evidence and current use are very subjective terms. So if someone comes into Marty's office and says, well, I hear you're going to hire Jane Doe, but I went to a party and I saw her do a line of coke. Like, is that maybe reliable evidence or documented evidence?
So we have to use some level of management discretion. And that's the sort of thing that we call our legal counsel for. And we say, help us navigate through this. And the first thing they say is, look at your PC rules, look at your contract, let's look at ed code. And that's what we look at. What we sometimes find is we have put language in one of the documents that we control that makes it harder for us to do our job. And I'll tell you what, if we get all kinds of interesting people coming through, and we need to have a level of prerogative to do some screening based on judgment. And you're right, when you use judgment, it is subjective. But I think it has to be. We're dealing with people, and not every case is going to be the same.
And their audience are children and people who have addictions and or more than occasional users make a lot of bad decisions.
Well, that's an assumption. I don't think you can.
No,
no,
I'm sorry. There's evidence to proof of that, Susan.
But so one of the things about that, so in my experience in how we deal with addiction when we encounter it, a school is different than other
yes.
in that when we are dealing with addiction, addiction by nature of its, by virtue of being an addiction, is somehow chemically altering, and at the very least, it's impacting your inhibitions,
It does.
your judgment. And
It
even
alters.
a high functioning addict, by virtue of limiting or challenging your inhibitions, your frontal lobe, that is of concern, because you can't trust that the chemical will always do the same thing when you take the chemical. And so that's one of the reasons. There's no judgment when we deal with somebody with addiction. Everybody has struggles. We have to just focus on, why is this a problem? Well, the problem is that we have children, and we have to have good judgment with them all the time. And if you have an addiction to a chemical, no matter what the chemical is or why you have that addiction, that you are limiting your ability to have good judgment with children.
I don't argue with that. That makes perfect sense. I just think we may be losing some good employees who don't necessarily fit that stereotype of a drug addict or an alcoholic. We've also expanded we went from drug addiction to adding addiction to any intoxicant. So that's a big expansion. We went from drugs to any substance abuse, period.
So
Substance abuse.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have to remember that if you're intoxicated, no matter what the substance, you're in charge of overseeing children, even if you're not in charge, but for a minute you have to, because you're the custodian, you're crossing across the field, and you're the one that's there in view of what's going on. You have to have all your faculties about you. And I think addiction is a terrible thing, and it needs to be dealt with. I have great sympathy for those who struggle with this, but I think we cannot knowingly hire people that are addicted to something that will, by nature of what it is, inhibit their ability to make good choices around children.
Yeah.
And we're talking about applicants, not employees.
Right.
And we're not, that they don't have, they're not bad people. Nobody's saying that. But they do have a serious issue, and the serious issue can definitely have a serious effect on the children that we're responsible for. And I think that's all we're saying.
Everything you're saying makes sense. I'm not disagreeing with anything that's been said. I just want to, can I make just one other suggestion? I don't want to belabor this too much longer, but would you accept language that would say something like evidence of ongoing use instead of current use, so it's not like a one-time incident?
I think if I could just put in, I think if we were made aware of that somebody used cocaine last month and we hired them, then there's a problem. That they may or may not have been high, it's not sure. The district will for sure be liable for having knowingly hired someone that may have had a drug problem. So I think that I would not be comfortable with having that. I think that the language that our legal counsel put forth is specific enough to do the job, but not so specific that it keeps us from being able to look at and ask the big questions. What is current? Is it 5 years? Is it 1 year? We really you have to look at every situation as it comes to you, because they're always.
Exactly.
So does that include addiction to controlled substances like opioids?
Yes, any addiction. Opiates, just because they might be a prescription, but it's altering that person.
So I can give you
taking Oxy for back pain would not be hired.
No, because if I'm prescribed Oxy, now there is a situation that we wouldn't have. How do we know that they're addicted?
Yeah.
And that's what we would have to be working with legal counsel on. But having been prescribed Oxy does not mean that you're addicted to Oxy.
Right.
But if we
True.
we have evidence that this person has dealt with it, has sold it, has been taking it for years,
Right.
we cannot then say, you know what, let's hire this person and have them supervise a small group of 5 children. We can't do that.
No, and there would be evidence of oxy addiction. I mean,
Well,
that-
that's
it
not
would,
addiction. That would be current use of illegal substance. Using someone else's prescription is illegal.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you're
but
saying that would be a reason not to hire someone.
That's-
using their own in a wrong way would also not be okay.
Well, I mean, we could go on all day thinking of hypotheticals.
Yeah, so
I
let's have a
my
motion.
objection is I think this language is overly broad, and it could really penalize people who we don't really want to include in this, but by the breadth of the language, it's going to cover a lot of people who might, not a lot, but it could come up to some people who we would like to hire, but we can't because they fall under this very broad umbrella. So
And that's unfortunate, but
is
I think it's
unfortunate, but I
fair
think that's
language.
our job is to stop unfortunate situations.
But that's not on us, that's on them. It's their responsibility. I think this is
Right.
fair language for the audience that we represent, and that's the kids.
And this is school district and need a safe environment for our students, and you wouldn't put anybody in jeopardy. Having them take drugs.
Martha, we can't hear you that well.
Okay.
Okay, I'll stop.
Are you there, Martha?
Hear me now?
A little bit better.
It's a little
Yep.
tiny bit better. So, can I get a motion to approve this as it stands, and a second, or what would the commission like to do?
So I'll just tell
I'm
you,
in
Kathy, you would
tonight.
have to be the second.
Pardon me?
You would have to be the second because I won't second.
Okay, but we don't have a motion, do we?
I'm in favor of the language. Can you hear me, Kathy? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Did you, are you making a motion to approve the language in this revision?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve revisions of PD rules 407.2.2-5 and 407.2-6, rejection of applications. As
Okay.
amended by the council.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so motion passes. Okay, moving on to 9.3. This is an item for discussion purposes only. It's not an action, and it's to review the personnel action items from the August 2020 meeting of the Board of Trustees, current staffing needs and recruitment efforts.
You can always tell the beginning of the year where the personnel items approved by the board are much longer than they are down
Yeah,
later in the year.
so that's the list of people that have been employed, correct?
Correct. And those that either have requested leaves or have
Retired.
retired or resigned from their previous to take on a new position.
Okay. All right, so any discussion, any comments on this? It's not an action item. And if you're ready to move on, we can, commissioners.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, So 9.4 is to announce our nominee for the appointment and reappointment of the commissioner representing the classified employees. And I don't know, Marty, if you want me to just, you want to, do you want to address it?
I'm just bringing it up in the timelines. Lisa reported out earlier that the CSEA voted to reappoint Martha as their representative. Yay. And Martha has graciously accepted that reappointment. And so it was just kind of making sure that everybody was on the same wavelength and the same timelines. Actually, I was told we're a little ahead of the game because Martha's position doesn't end until the end of November, but we didn't want any mishaps. So this is just purely informational. We will have a public hearing, which is required by Ed Code at our next meeting.
And then the board gets it after that, right?
That's correct.
Okay, Martha, we're very happy to keep you.
Okay, you might be stuck with me for a couple of years.
Oh, that's not a stuck, my dear. Okay, item 10 on our agenda, if there's any public comment before we go into closed session.
No
Do-
comments. were
nothing?
received.
Okay, so we're going to move into closed session.